an alumni, are you changing? Merge whoever you want, but are you changing? And then that was a core tenet of the whole merging process, is they would not touch anything we do academically.
Yes.
They just wanted more of our graduates,
Yes.
because they know how to work, they know how to behave, which is every bit as important as how intelligent you are,
Yes.
if not more so.
Yes.
A lot of very intelligent people, not very wise.
Oh, yes.
I like distinguishing between highly intelligent and wise. It can be very, very different. Better if you have both.
Wow. Yes.
Those would be our leaders,
Which
if we
could
had
be-
such things.
Which could be rare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm gonna close this for noise sake.
Yeah, we'll wait just a couple minutes. And your son, is it?
Son and daughter. Daoud and Naila.
Oh, Daoud. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
That's Yeah, so I just got to know him only because Dr. El-Sadi, for personal reasons, had to retire or resign. So I had to fill in what she was helping Mr. Sproul and
Yes.
Mrs. Owetchi.
Oh, okay.
So I help out in the second grade
Oh,
classroom
nice.
a couple times. It's fun going back and Is this your first year here or second year?
Second year.
Second year.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people in fourth grade and below, and COVID and all that.
Yeah.
We literally used to have every new family when they came to our home.
Oh, wow.
We'd have coffee and whatever, tea, crumpets. But that COVID just messed up everything.
Mm-hmm.
It did. I can't believe we're going on 3 years.
Yeah. We pretty much washed our hands of it, huh?
Is the meeting in here?
It is.
I just had it
Welcome.
a few weeks ago.
No,
Good morning.
Oh, God, I was not.
coffee and donuts are over there.
Good
If you'd
Oh,
like.
yeah.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you? Good to see you. You too. I miss you.
There's a napkin.
I always do that too. I always do it in the car or on me. I thought I would get it for sure on my shirt.
My car is
Especially
full.
because of the
My
lids.
wife does that all the time. As soon as she
It's-
brings coffee into the car, I stick some paper right here. I said, what are you doing? I said, you know what I'm doing.
More coffee in the car than anywhere. Huh?
Isn't it like in these cups, it spills out of them.
Well, we need to do this.
It's the lid.
That helps. Actually, no, it doesn't. Like,
No, I know, because it's still in the lip. I know.
I'm going to take notes on my phone. I'm not,
Totally.
texting.
I even have the amount of lids that I just put it on.
Well, I'll start. Someone else comes in. It's okay.
Yep.
So this is about homework, and I thought the first thing I'd bring up is, this is the value of homework is so highly debated in most schools and school systems, and the probably more people today in America do not believe in homework, and more schools than do. But it's interesting, and then of course everybody takes research that supports their position, whatever it is. But actually the Center for Public Education, which is kind of a clearinghouse of all the research that's out on it, their final word on is, well, what do you mean by homework? In other words, why are you administering it? What are you doing with it? And how are you carrying it out? Because those determine whether or not it's effective. So, in some cases they're saying, well, there's been no effect in state tests, no matter how much homework is given. And I'm just thinking, what is your alignment between what's going on in the classroom, what's going on in homework, and what's going on in that test? Because I don't think you can prep children from state tests with homework. So that's where we start. Almost everything we do at Birchwood is currently we would say this is the best we know of how to educate children. Things can change, we can get more information, more research, but a combination from history, research in, say, the last 50 years at least, and then of course my wife and I have been and still are in the classroom. So it's hard to bluff us and say this thing works. Well, okay, I tried it with 4th graders. This is hogwash. Or, wow, this is very effective, and it's backed up in research and so on. So that's the first thing. We do it not because we have a penchant for homework. We think children should be well disciplined with their homework. That's not the point. So then we have to answer the question, why are you doing it? And how are you doing it? And what are you doing with the homework? What is the homework that you're using? So there's 2 big categories where homework has a huge impact on the children. One, and I talked about this last time we had a meeting, this idea of an early start in education and the cumulative advantage. That undergirds everything. So someone would say, you give homework in the 1st grade? Are you crazy? Well, okay, listen to the story about it. To build up habits, self-discipline, time management, organization, all the things that are going to make you successful when you move on to high school and on to college, those are habits. You cannot tell a 14-year-old who's never developed the habits, you got to keep a homework notebook, or you have to be organized. Very little impact, because these are habitual things. Now they can build up their habits, certainly. They put their mind to it. So on one level, you're developing things that then have their cumulative advantage. The biggest problem we have of older children coming into school, they can be smarter than all our kids. They cannot keep up. And I tell parents, especially if they want to sign their kids up for the 7th or 8th grade, coming from another school, I said, number 1, your son or daughter is going to hate this place for 6 months. Mm-hmm. Number 2, if you can endure, you will be glad you did, because they're learning habit, and habits are painful. I'm always trying to reduce my weight. All I got to do is cut down on the sugar, cut down on the carbs. Now ask them, why don't you do it? Well, because I have X number of years of bad habits, and they're hard to shake. So when we look at homework, we're looking, okay, what can be the effects of it? And then we got to start early and do it well. So that's the underlying thought, the cumulative advantage that the kids have. Then there's 2 areas that it can be beneficial. One is in the area of, we'll call them productivity habits, things that will make you a productive person. And the other part, of course, is academics. And I'll explain how both of those work. So with the habits, productivity habits, you can see where homework, okay, you've got to set aside a time and a place, and there has to be just enough. So often we'll tell parents, even though we prescribe X amount of minutes, don't hold yourself to that. Some kids want to do more, and some kids don't want to do any. So, but it's kind of a middle point. But it's each night, we have X number of time, place, we sit down, we do it. They whine and complain. I still have my 8th graders still whine and complain. Mr. D, do we have to have homework? This is a special. No, you get your homework. So it just becomes an automatic thing. They know when they have it. Where my evening is set up with 3 or 4 activities. Where will I get my homework in? Oh goodness, we have to drive to a soccer game. All right, on the way there, pull out your 3x5 cards, learn your vocabulary. We're on the way back, let's practice our multiplication tables. So they're learning all the things that a very productive adult will learn. I mean, you're probably familiar with the adage that if you want something done, give it to a busy person. Not the other way around, not to somebody who has a lot of time, because they have a lot of time, they're not very productive. Mm-hmm. So you give it to somebody who's busy, and they find a way to plug it in. So when there's time management, there's organization, there's learning quality of work. That's got to take at least 5 years. Good morning. No problem. Come on, have a seat. Just from my own experience, getting quality of work, minimum of 5 years. it doesn't matter how many times I tell the children in math, like I'll have the second grade, your name goes up here, and then your first problem goes right there. You put one right by their red line, and then you do all your problems. And why did you do the problem in the middle of the page? Where's your name? Oh, I forgot. All right, let's do this again. Anyway, that goes on for 5-6 years. They don't learn. But I've done this long enough. You wait till the 8th grade, pretty soon, it's just superb. I was joking with my staff the other day. 2 of my worst students just graduated. And they're at a school where they're both in the same math class. 20 kids in the math class. And the math teacher told them, you 2 guys sit in the back. I trust you to do superb work. But the other kids I gotta sit on them the whole time. And these are my 2 worst students. But they just knew how to work. You know, they're not in math. That was not their thing. Was math. You know, they're just going to plod along. They're probably not going to finish calculus by the end of high school. But that really doesn't matter. But they knew how to work. But oh my goodness, the time that took. That if you were to put together mom and dad's time, honey, you've got to get that homework done. Come on, sit down. Don't no, that's terrible. How many nights? Then how many times in class? That's your homework? That's the way you do work in class? Okay, do it again. How many times that happened? But over and over and over again until the habits, they're never perfect, but they're far better than having done nothing. The organization of time, I'm sure you've all faced that. When I work with children and they're sort of remiss in doing homework, I'll have them sit down with their schedule and then tell them, okay, you tell me the fun you want to have first, and let's plug that in. Okay, you have a video game you want to play? All right, we'll do that from whatever, 5 to 5:30. What else do you want to do? Oh, there's a program you want to watch? Okay, when is that on? That's 7 to 7. Let's plug that in. Now look at that. We've still got 3 hours. They're usually stunned, you know. But actually, that's the case. You know, it doesn't have to take up all the time. But the point of it is, from 1st grade through 8th grade, you're repeating all of these productivity habits. How to focus while they're sitting there. So they're sitting there, and they go purely by time. You said 30 minutes, I was there for 30 minutes. No, your body was there for 30 minutes. You were only there for about 10. Keep working, you know, depending on who the child is. Once again, how long it takes. I call this intellectual stamina. So the children can sit down, and this is a strong characteristic of our students because they get to the middle school. They have stamina. So we have a long class. They can, the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders can buckle down for 90 minutes. There's not many high school kids that can do that. But it's not because we're tough or we're mean or we're imposing it. Habits. You just your ability to focus, and when you wander off, which happens in classes, and I'm sure when your children are doing homework. Okay, back on task, Joey. Oh yeah, okay. Well, that happens, I don't know, thousands of times at home, and then again at school. But so every night there's homework. Every night this is going on. Sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're a failure, but those habits are being built up over and over. And they're learning how to deal with time, how to make decisions like adults do. I got stuff to do, I got to get that done. I really like some of the children, maybe in about the 5th or 6th grade, they begin saying, what's the homework, Mr. D? What's the homework? Can I do some of it right now?
Good morning, Birchwood School staff and students. Now that we're all nice and warm inside, letting you know that the Westlake bus riders are running late. They will be here before 8:45. Thank you.
Every Westlake parent called me for the bus. Is the bus there? Where's the bus? Where's the bus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where was I at?
Oh, Mr. D, I lost it.
Okay.
Building up habits over time.
So what I'll see with students who are like 5th and 6th grade, and they're starting to have lots of extracurricular activities. I don't know, a basketball team, or they're in some theater that they're participating in. And then they'll say, Mr. D, what's the homework? What's the homework? And then I'll tell them, can I do it now? I got 5 minutes before we're dismissed. I love hearing that because they're beginning to figure out I've got so much time and I can do it all. I can do it all if I know how to manage my time. And that comes from coaching at home, probably more coaching at home than at school, but from both places. And they just begin to build up these habits that are going to make them successful. The second, so that's the whole character piece. You're just drudgery year after year, and we're doing the same thing. The second piece is achievement, academic achievement. And that's based on the simple fact that the more time on task you have, the more you're going to learn. It's as simple as that. More practice, you learn more. Now, of course, the work has to be appropriate. You can't just give any kind of homework. So very often, most often, especially with children in 1st through 4th grade, the work at home will mirror the work at school. So like just yesterday when I had the 4th graders, we were doing some difficult problem solving for 4th graders. Their homework was to do the exact same 4 word problems that we did in class. Even then they won't get it, but at least they're not doing without any kind of a background. So mom and dad end up being a teacher. That we don't want. It's not to say that some parents, they even demand more of their kids than what we do at school, and we're okay with that. We will accommodate that. Sometimes in math, I know some parents will be very intent on accelerating the children's math progress, and then I'll accommodate that. I've got a couple students in the 7th grade right now, and I even have one in the 5th grade who wants to be a competitor in math counts, which is a national and then international competition. And so they contact me, I prepare materials, and mom and dad work with them at home. But that's not an expectation. The only expectation we have for parents is make sure the work is done, by checking the homework notebook, and read with them. That's the only obligation. Because reading, if they emerge from Birchwood as a reader, oh, the world's open to them. We can give them a great education, but if they're not readers, they won't be limited, but their world's just not as expansive. You know, they can't say, I'm kind of interested in some architecture. I'm going to read a little bit on it. It's just world's open to you when you have reading. That's the only area when the children are young that we encourage. So what I'll talk to the teachers about is what you plan in class and what you give for homework. A couple of things. It should reflect what you've already done. So any child can, so if you told Millen, go home and do your homework, you have the assurance you already did this in class. Mr. D showed you how to do it, or Mrs. Wetchy showed you how to do it. So then they can, I don't get it. What did Mr. D say? Now, the worst thing that can happen is say, I don't get it. All right, come on, sit over here, I'll help you. So that can happen, and I'm sure most parents are willing to do that. But it's set up so they get more time on task with what they've already done. And it's interesting, the research on how people retain information is not by cramming, is not by a one session. It's by waves. So you studied in class, you do the exact thing at home. And if you'll watch real closely, what you'll see is in a month, we will cover the same material again, and they may even get the same homework again, because that's how the mind remembers things, not by immersing. And you all know this, by all the tests you cram for and can't remember a single thing from what you learned. That's just the fact. So what's going on in classroom can continue at home, and it just gives us more time than to accomplish whatever our objectives are in class. So I hope you can see the consistency. So what you're building up is one, that's what I do. I do homework, and I know how to use my time, and I know how to use my energy, and I know how to ask questions. These are other things we'll ask. So when I grade homework for children, and the other teachers will do the same, which is a very important part of homework. You can't turn in homework and get no feedback on it. So the other thing we teach them is a learner asks questions. So I didn't understand number 4 and I didn't understand number 8. Can you explain it again? That's a part of being a learner. And part of the advantage of doing work at home is you identify what you don't understand. So that's another habit that's being built up. You won't probably If you all have younger children, you won't see that for a while. But by the 6th or the 7th grades, the kids come in. I have 3 questions, Mr. D. Can we go over these? So they know I do not just do stuff. I learn and I understand. And if I don't, I ask. That's our environment. We're not set up for passing or failing. We're setting up for learning. Then the homework, in terms of value, it creates the awareness with the children. Education is important to our family. So important that I budget either a place or a table or their own room or something. And time is budgeted. It's not, go do your homework, will you? No, okay, you sit down, you gotta get this done. To create this honor of having a good education. It goes a long way as the children get older to be serious. I want to do well because education is my way to the future. It will open doors for me. But that happens cultivating. Of course, here at school, you probably know I'm very strict about what I allow to occur and not occur at school. So that this is almost like a sanctuary of learning. I'm very strict on that. So I don't let other things come into the school. Then it's the same thing at home. You know, mom and dad can emphasize. Now you have a grounds as the homework. I hate homework, mommy. Well, you know, there are all kinds of things we hate, but do you know education is what's going to take you farther in life than anything else? And of course, by the time you give that lecture for the 500th time, they still won't quite have it. But in the back of their mind, you're planting seeds. Education is everything. And you have a vehicle daily to talk. I know you don't like it. I know this is boring to you. But education is everything. And if, you know, Mrs. Zhang told you or Mrs. Wetchy told you this is your homework, honey, that's a part of your whole growing. I don't care. Yeah, I know you don't care, but you're going to do it. It's the consistency. So of course, you know, I think a lot of families, they want their kid to be willing to do their homework. Well, they're not going to be. Who wants to be given homework? I don't want to be given homework. In fact, if I could eliminate homework, if I thought there was a justification, I would. It only makes more work for me. I've got to plan the homework. I got to grade the homework. It's much easier to say, no, homework's not valuable. And I've got a study right here that, whatever that came from, that I'm going to quote. It's just painful to everybody. And I think when you know it, then whatever other discipline things you do at home, you have the persistence. Because I hate this, and how come the other kids, look, all the other kids, they go to the local public school, they're playing outside, and I'm doing all my homework. Mommy, you're the meanest mommy that ever lived, and you know, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I know I am. Your daddy and I work on being very strict and mean to you, but you will do your homework. And you know, one of the sweetest stories is from a girl who graduated about 5 or 6 years ago. Really bright, and you know, strong-willed. And she fought her parents, she fought us. You know, when she was in the 4th grade and the 5th grade, she yelled at her mother, everyone, what's going to happen to me when all those other kids are playing these years? Like, I'm here doing homework. What's going to happen to me? What kind of person am I going to turn out to be? Oh, and she never held back to anybody. She graduates in the 8th grade. At the end of the 8th grade, I have the children write, the 8th graders write, we call it a Ben Franklin essay. It's a reflection on how they've grown in the 8th grade year, because we will watch a lot of movies. And she writes something to this effect. She says, when I was in the 5th grade, I envied every friend of mine who didn't have to go to Birchwood. Now as I'm graduating, I pity them all. I'm so far ahead of everybody else. She saw it, you know, when she went on to high school. And that's kind of what you're doing at home. You have to have that view, because they have a lot of good reasons why you're cruel. I'm gonna call the police on you, whatever. Because it's just hard, and that's why it's even, like I say, it's hard for us to give the homework, it's hard to monitor the homework, and it's hard for them to do the homework. But it's that hard that little by little creates those habits, you know, that just makes them intellectually strong and having the right kind of view. See if I have any. anything else? I don't think so. I think, again, I would just repeat your own oversight, how important that is. So that's why it's a partnership. If you ever saw the homework, no, you told us that this was homework they'd be able to do. He couldn't do this. Okay, we need to make an adjustment like that. That's where the collaboration comes in. Or if they're not getting their homework done, you'll hear from us, you know, what's happening. Is there something we need to say or whatever? With me, parents are always saying, Mr. D, would you mind threatening them? It doesn't always work that way. But it works for some families. I'm going to tell Mr. D, you won't do your homework. All right, I'll do it. I have to keep that persona. So we have time, then we can talk more individually if you have some questions, or because all our cases are different. And that's the other thing, you know, you maybe have a little boy or girl's just like gung-ho Sally, look out, you know. And then you may have a little boy, it's usually the little boys who are just fighting you tooth and nail, night after night. I can smell it when I give a homework assignment. Mom and Dad are gonna get it tonight.
I think my only trouble with homework with my son is he'll say he was told something else at school, and I'm like, well, the instructions say this, and he's like, no, Mr. Boyer said I can do it this way, and I'm just like, I don't know who to believe now, you know. And then I'm like, should I send an email and ask or trust him? So sometimes we have a back and forth.
Well, that's a common problem, and the best thing to do is whether it's through email or a phone call to Mr. Boyer. Dawood's giving us a discrepancy between what's in his homework notebook and what you said. What's the best way to get crystal clarity that he's not bluffing me? Yeah, just one or two times, because they all do that.
Yeah.
You know, they'll write abbreviations in their homework notebook, and what does this mean? And they make up some story about what it means. And the only way that can be resolved is he's not clear on what he's supposed to do. That will trigger his homeroom teacher before they go to make sure his homework notebook is filled out correctly.
Okay.
You know, that's another thing. If we didn't have homework, that would take so much work off of us. But you got to go around to everyone. Let's see yours. Open it up, or some of them will put it away already. Take out your homework notebook. It just drives you nuts. But again, that's all a part of the habit building. It's just tedious, very tedious, and they try to get away with everything. They're good at it.
My kindergartner tries me every day.
I'll bet.
And she's so smart. Like, she has her math packets, and every day she's like, can I just do 2 pages? And I'm like, Naila, you do 20 minutes. And she gets done with like 5 pages in 20 minutes. But it, like you said, her body's just sitting there, and she doesn't want to do the work. And I'm like, you're so good at this. Like, you can do it quickly. Yeah. You're just making this take a very long time, and it doesn't have to. You know, in miniature, the little thing you're describing in miniature, that's what growth is always all about. I think a couple weeks ago I talked about this, that we have 2 parts of us. One part of us loves stasis. Don't bother me, okay? Everything's going really well. I got my house managed, got my finances managed, I've got a good job. And then someone says, you know, there's an opportunity. It'll take you about 5-6 hours a week. And your first more work, another course. That's just human. And we forget that's where the kids are at. So as soon as we want them to grow, do the 5 pages instead of the 2. What's going to happen? Mom, I'm very comfortable right now doing 2 pages. Yes, I know you are, but if we grow, you always are stretching. And there's always a little bit of pain. Maybe that's an exaggeration. It's not really pain, but struggle. There's always some pushing that has to be done. And that becomes the other tool. So when you know, honey, it's 20 minutes, so you got to finish those. You can do those 5 pages. It'll be over in no time. And eventually they do. But that is like a fundamental principle in education, is any growth, any additional learning will involve struggle. The reaching forward.
I was telling my staff the other day, when I first got out of school, they were always talking, you gotta make education fun, has to be fun. And it is, but it's not fun because you're playing games, it has to be fun because you grow. So you get better at stuff and you just love it. It's like with the little kids I have in 4th grade. Oh, when they get problems right, I'll mark, I like to give them fast feedback, so they'll bring it up and I'll start, and I just see Melon's face. Yes! Well, then of course they'll always say, do we have to do all of them? Do all of them. But, and then they bring it up and they mark them all right, and you say, oh, yes! So then, little by little, they discover, okay, it's that push that lifted me into another, oh, that's okay.
Sorry.
No problem.
Work obligation. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah. So you have a long hall in front of you. That's about it, huh?
It's 8:35. So if you have more questions.
Do you feel, once you get something in motion, like I have him doing his homework right when he comes from school, because I've tried the other way, and when he gets, when he's having fun playing games and doing
Hard to
stuff,
break.
then yes. So do you find that it's okay to like get him to do it right when he comes home from school?
You're the best judge of that.
Okay.
So if you've tried the other and it's not
I have.
effective, then
I've tried the other, and I've tried the doing homework on Sunday before school, Sunday night. No, never again. That doesn't work. Okay, I didn't
and you're
know.
teaching them. I would teach him a lesson too while he's doing that. Is just, Grayson, this is when your mind is the best. So let's use it then. Because as
thank
adults, if you take any more courses or you want to go to a conference or something and you have to produce something, I always think about when's my mind the best.
Mhm.
I'm good by 12 o'clock. After that, it just goes downhill
Yes.
in terms of being keen. So it's another
Okay,
good lesson.
That's good. And plus, I'm learning the lesson too.
Mm-hmm.
To that it's not going to work after I let you play with your iPad a little bit to pull you away. It's not going
That's
to work.
right.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Because some days he's very good. Like he'll do it and he'll like his vocabulary. But the last vocabulary he did, but he was off all last week with the flu. So the vocabulary he dragged out for an hour and a half. Where you just write your words 3 times.
Yeah.
And he dragged it out an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch him on the camera, and sometimes he's just like looking around,
Mhm.
like not doing it.
All normal.
Okay. But
Mhm.
with you saying that, I realize that now because he was off for a week, and it's like he's got to get back into the habit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's long term. So that's why, to me, it's an important. Every once in a while, someone will come into the school, either a new teacher or a parent, and say, nobody does homework. And they'll challenge the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I go back again. No, we do it for a reason. Most people don't think of homework the way I just explained it to you. It's more of a thing you're supposed to do, a part of school, but it doesn't have a big story behind it of what you're trying to accomplish. And that part's important. And it allows you to understand, okay, the frustrations with it are normal. Your uncooperation of your son or daughter is normal, that's all. And you're helping them build a habit. I think the sports analogies are perfect. If your little boy or girl was good in soccer or whatever it is in baseball, you want to get good at it, you better find yourself a coach that disciplines them. There's no such thing as being good at baseball. You can have natural talent, but you're going to have to change your swing, change your stance, how to catch, how to throw. Everything involves progress, and progress, you have to pay a price for it. It's just that today in America, we don't apply that to education so much. I think everybody knows if you want to be a musician, you better practice your violin. Same thing with sports. You got to practice or you're not going to make the team. But there's so much room in education to say, well, it's not that important. It's not that important. Well, it is when you get to be 30 years old. Then you realize, oh, it smokes. Or you go to college and you realize everybody else is far more disciplined than you are. But by then, you've kind of wasted some time.
I do appreciate now the reason for the homework. Starting so young, it's not just thrown, because when I went to school, I graduated high school in '88, you didn't get barely any homework.
Yeah.
And then when you go to college, it's like overwhelming.
You don't know how to handle it.
Right. So I do appreciate now
Uh-huh.
starting so young to get that into their, you know, like, in
Yeah.
their life.
I do like that you said it's creating habits, and it's for us it's a routine now, and Doe actually does like routines. Naila not so much, but he knows that at 5:30 I have to sit down and do my homework. I do let them take a break when they come home, because if we do homework as soon as school is over, it's a situation. So we take a break, we eat snacks, they'll watch a show, and then they'll sit down and do their homework. But when you speak about like it's habitual, like doing it over and over again, it's like, okay, now I get it. Every day after school at 5:30 I have to sit down and do my homework, even if I don't like it. Yesterday we did creative writing. Is God bless us. But creative writing is usually a tough day. But last night we had such a good time doing it together. It's like he started off with an attitude, but by the end of it, he was like, "Mommy, I have to write a second poem because I want to get an 8." And I was like, "That's awesome! Like, let's do it."
Yeah.
But at first he didn't want to use his brain power to like
Oh, no.
find the animal. I'm like, "What animal would you like to talk about?" Shark. I'm like, "No, that's on the paper. We can't use shark." And he's like, "Okay, I'll use lion." And so we just looked at a picture of a lion, and I was like, "Tell me something about the lion." Because before it was like, "Mommy, give me the answers," and now I'm like, "You have to find the answers for
Yeah, that's
yourself."
great.
So it's getting better. You said 6 months. It's been 2 years for us. I hope it gets better.
Well, it's 6 months for someone who comes in the 7th grade.
Oh, okay.
You will either leave the school or you'll start to see progress. When they're little like that, there's very seldom have I seen a child who has a problem that time and habit won't cure by the 5th or 6th grade.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen a kid go through the school that it didn't do. It's just relentless. It is night after night after night. It's like all of your family habits, good and bad. They're going to have them when they're 16 years old, if that's the way the family is. And so you're just adding another dimension.
Yeah.
And you brought up a nice point. I mean, I think there's also some wonderful bonding can happen. Even if sometimes you just sit there, "Come on, I'll help you, don't worry.
Yeah.
We'll do this." That's terrific bonding. They know, Mommy, our family loves education, and Mommy will always help me with it. That, oh my goodness, that goes a long way in their growing up. That it's such an important thing, and your support's so important. Yeah. So that's why I resent that it's so demeaned in public education conversation, homework. That it's just a cruel, mean thing. No, it's not. If you know what you're doing, what a wonderful tool. I've used this analogy quite a few times. When my wife and I started the school in 1984, we prior to that we thought, well, let's either start a farm. So every morning you feed the chickens and milk the cows, whether you like it or not. That's what you have to do. Well, we can't start a farm. But the same principle to education. There's certain things you just have to do to become intellectually strong and character strong.
Yeah.
So make them feed the chickens, milk the cows.
Do you have any tips? So what I'm struggling with a lot is that my kids will do their work if I'm sort of like hovering over them, and then the second that I turn my back, they're like up and off. And I have 3 of them. So I'm like struggling to hover over this one, and then like that one's, off. And then I like go over here and I'm yelling at that one, and then this one's off.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of that way every night almost, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to teach them to have like discipline and independence, but I'm like really struggling with it.
Yeah, and that's an excellent question, because the same thing happens in class. You just have to picture they don't want to do it. It's like they're saying, "Mom, don't you understand? I don't want to do this." And so as soon as it's like holding three basketballs underwater with two hands. That is what you end up doing in your case.
Yes.
So there has to be some parameters, whether it comes from you and your husband together or something. They don't have the willpower, so it's got to be your willpower. Well, right now your willpower is hovering over this one, then push down that basketball, then hovering over that one. So, depending on your family values, depending on you and your husband's discussion about it, there's got to be something like, I cannot get away with this. So like in your case, poor old Dawood, he ain't gonna get away with nothing because mom's sitting right there.
Right.
But okay, multiply that, which you don't, but let's say you had triplets or twins, a bunch of kids around the table. That alone won't be enough. So there's got to be something that draws the line. So that's why I would get my reputation from the kids. Don't mess around in Mr. D's class. I'm very nice to the children, but in the back of their head, they know don't mess around or you're going to be in big trouble. They need that because their little willpowers are not to the point where they can regulate themselves. See, we can all regulate ourselves. We're adults. So if I didn't like somebody, I'm just not going to say anything. Just shut up. Or if I don't want to do certain kinds of work, I may direct it to another time, or I might push through. But that's me. I'm an adult. I should have an adult's willpower. Children don't. So it's got to come from without. That's why when you're with them, they do it. When you leave them, they don't. And so somehow, between you and your wife, you got to you and your husband, figure out, okay, how can we draw that line around? No, you're not getting up. And that I can't really advise because every family's different and some families are so strict. I know some that are ruthless, but that's okay. That's their family. They're welcome to do that. And others are not. They're in another direction. There's not a way. It's what works for you and your children so that you're accomplishing the discipline that wants to get done. How firm, whatever. You just have to figure it out. Like those good examples you gave of doesn't work on Sunday night, don't give them any time to get on see, it's different from yours.
Yes.
But because you got to know your family, you got to know your kids, but you the same big picture is there. You've got to learn the discipline of making yourself do what you have to do, taking your responsibility. So I wish I had a way.
Maybe have you tried doing everybody's homework at a different time?
We just don't have time for that.
Okay.
Because we almost every day have after school activities and then dinner and driving back and forth.
Yeah.
That we have like a block of homework that everyone sort of has to
Mhm.
work within.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that
And you
would
can't have
be-
like man on man because there's 3 of them.
I know. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's tough. This is why we stopped at 2.
Yeah.
Because we were like, oh, we got man on man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hopefully you can find like a time where they can just like chill. Are they all next to each other? Like when they're doing homework? Or do
Not
they
necessarily. No, they sort of like spread out a little bit, but they're all
okay.
like on the first floor of the house, so I can see them and see what they're doing. But it's literally like I'm helping this one, and that one was doing something, and then I turn around and they're not doing that anymore. They're like up and off, or found my phone, or doing
Would they
whatever.
all sit at the same table and do homework?
Maybe.
And make it easier for you so that you're not going from room to room checking them.
Possibly. I like your idea of the schedule too, and having them schedule the fun in. I'm gonna try that.
Mm-hmm.
See if it works.
What grade are your kids in?
So my son's in 4th grade,
Mm-hmm.
but he's probably like the worst in terms of like self-discipline.
Mm-hmm.
So he will make sure he gets his homework done, but he'll like wait until like the 11th hour to do it. So he will not go to bed without it done. It's like he's very feels panicked if it's not done, and like absolutely will not come to school with his homework not done, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's like having him do it like in a timely manner, and like having the like 25 minutes be like quality work.
Yeah.
Like with his writing assignment, again, I keep on like talking about this, but his writing assignment will be like 1.5 pages, but it's like double spaced.
Mm-hmm. Big
it's-
letters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this cannot take you
I've
25
taught that
minutes.
phrase.
Like, you
Smart way
have
to get
develop.
around it.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're like reading more or writing more.
He'll
and
be
I
a
keep-
creative
I
businessman
was about to say,
someday.
Yes.
he's very smart for
Yes,
doing
like giving him ideas, like, you know, instead of describing it like this, why don't you like, you know, have someone like be able to visualize it more by like using like these types of descriptive things.
Yeah.
And then I read it this morning and it was like back to what he had 2 days ago, and I'm like, we've made no progress.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, just I guess keep
Persistence.
at it.
Yeah, honestly, that's
Persistence.
and that's also part of why I wanted to talk about homework, is because we are in it for the long haul.
Mhm.
So you know, it's not going to be a period of time you're successful. It's the long haul. I have yet to see someone who's been here the whole time, like you have children, not to be highly successful by the time they're in the 8th grade. Now, if they come in the 7th grade, it's a little bit harder. Or I've even had kids come in the 8th grade. Of course, then I'm just ruthless with them, because we only get so much time. But this just consistency over a long period of time, frustrated with one child who gets work done fast and doesn't want to put the whole amount in, and another child who's so dutiful. It's all in there. It's the persistence, the continuation, the constancy. You're making that a part of your family culture. You work hard. Is what you're doing. So you just got to keep working at it.
Just keep going.
No
And
easy
the
way.
positive is that he wants his homework
Yes.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
just
you
on
got to
his
find
time.
the grit
Right.
in it.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just not enough time in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
This was amazing. I'm so glad that.
Well, I'm glad
I've
it's
missed a
helpful.
few and I
Mhm.
didn't notice them until later, but I'm so glad that I made it to this. This is amazing.
Mhm. Good. I'm glad it's
And-
helpful.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that I know that it's not just him.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are times
That's
when
true.
he does
A lot
the
of parents
homework.
think that. Oh my
Yes,
God. Oh my God.
because
Yeah.
They're gonna
it's
throw
like
him out.
it's
I
him.
feel the same.
Oh, I think that all the time. I'm just like, oh my god, like we're struggling. Like we're not gonna make it to 8th grade.
I thought it was him, but it's amazing to know that it.
Everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's so much better than he was last year with homework.
That's so
and
important.
So 3rd grade, and then
Isn't
I
that
can
important?
just.
Yeah, when I went to the parent-teacher conference, I found out that Dowd's not having like meltdowns. Like he doesn't cry as much as he did last year, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
That's
'cause
progress.
that was a rough year.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Can
much.
I
for
say
that.
one other thing?
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm struggling with is that with the introduction of the study hall this year, I'm having a really hard time sort of like overseeing what he's doing, because the study hall is 25 minutes, correct?
Yes. So he gets some done.
He gets some done, but what's in his like planner is like multiple subjects are checked off, and then he's saying that he finished all this stuff in study
Oh yes,
hall.
I know. They're split.
And then so he's coming home and doing like very minimal
Well, let me
work.
give you some advice.
Okay.
All the way through 8th grade, they'll always tell you, "Mom, I can do it. Mom, I can do it. I can do it." Until you prove it to me, you can do it. I'm going to monitor every single thing you do. So he's got to show you. You did it. Let me see. You did it. Let's see. You did that in 25 minutes. Shame on you. Do it again.
Okay.
You just have to.
Okay. I
Yeah,
need to
again,
check in more.
That's a child. That's a human being getting out of it if they can. And so again, this just becomes a tool to do the same thing you already want to do, discipline him. I'm sure there's other things, whether it's make his bed or wash the dishes or something, you do it. You can't tell me I don't want to do it. You are going to do it. And all you're doing with homework is you're adding that into that realm. So, and then if he is sort of cheating on filling out the homework notebook, let the teacher know.
Okay.
They'll watch more closely.
Okay.
Yeah, don't let him get away with anything.
Okay.
I know you're going to
I
end
know,
up
I'm,
being
like,
a
really on
mean
top
mother,
of him,
but
yeah.
they'll be glad later.
Yeah. I'm hoping he like thanks me someday.
Yeah, when he's 30,
Yeah.
35.
Exactly.
Don't expect sooner than that.
That's good to know.
Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
Thank
sure.
you so
Mhm.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you for